Hi friends, how are you? It's Miss Drywa. So for science today, we're still talking about parts of the water cycle, and tomorrow we will put everything into the water cycle. But today we're going to be focusing on the types of precipitation. So we have discussed precipitation previously in the week, a little bit yesterday. Precipitation is the water that falls from the ground, from the clouds to the ground. So our rain, our snow, and our hail. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. Okay, so by the end of this lesson today, I would like you to be able to identify the three types of precipitation, which again, friends, rain, snow, and hail. But we're going to talk a little bit more about each of them, explain how they happen, why they happen, and then, yeah, well, you can have a Nearpod, do some activities, have a great day. So let's get started. So we have, I'm going to move myself down over here so you can see the words with me, my friends. There we go. So kinds of precipitation. Now, right away, I see my glossary. That means it's probably a word I might need help with. So precipitation, moisture that falls from clouds to the ground. Now, we also talked about this also. We said water. Moisture is water. Water that falls from the clouds to the ground. So it's not precipitation if I pour a glass of water on my head. No. Even though the water is falling to the ground, that didn't come from the clouds. That came from my glass of water. So it's water that falls from the clouds to the ground. So there are different types of precipitation. You walk outdoors on a cloudy gray day. Suddenly, you feel drops of water on your face. It's raining. This moisture that falls from clouds to the ground is called precipitation. Everybody say precipitation. Awesome job. Rain is one kind of precipitation. As you learned, air carries water vapor. So remember, friends, water vapor is the gas form of water. It's water as a gas. Remember, can't always see it. When water vapor rises, it cools and forms tiny water drops. Remember, that was called condensation, when the water rises and it gets cold and it turns into water. These tiny drops freeze into ice crystals. So now it gets so cold up there that those little water drops now turn into ice. Because remember, friends, when you put water in the freezer, you get ice. That's the solid form of water. Then more water vapor freezes onto the ice crystals, and they become larger and heavier. Then they begin to fall toward the earth. If the temperature near the earth is above freezing, these tiny ice crystals melt and fall to the earth as raindrops, as in the picture on the left. This picture here, it's raining. So let's talk about that for a second, because that was a little confusing. So as the water vapor gets higher and higher and higher, we already talked about that the cold air then makes them condense, condensation, turn to water. But if that water keeps going and going higher and higher, it's going to get colder and colder. Eventually, that water is going to turn to ice because it's so cold. Again, just like if you put water in the freezer, it's going to freeze. Now, those little ice crystals collect more water drops coming onto them, okay? And they're in the cloud, and when they get so heavy and there's too many of them, eventually they start to fall. Now, as they fall, friends, if the temperature down here is warmer, they're going to melt, and then we get raindrops, okay? If it does not, and if it doesn't melt, and it's so cold down here on our air, then they're going to stay frozen, and then we get either snow or hail. And we'll talk about that, which one in a second. So, at times, the temperature on the earth is below freezing, okay? Then the ice crystals do not melt. They fall to the earth as snow in the picture below. So we have our snow over here. So now, friends, just like I said, the ice crystals are falling. Woo! they get to like let's pretend right here is our air, right? Here's the Earth's air. If it's warm, they melt to rain. If it's cold also, they stay ice crystals and they fall like snow. So it all depends on the temperature here. If it's warmer, rain. Colder, snow. Okay? Notice the hailstones in the picture below. Hail forms when strong winds carrying frozen water drops higher into the clouds. Another layer of ice is added to the hail, and it begins to fall. Again and again, the hail falls and is pushed back up through the clouds. Each time the hail gets larger. When the hail becomes too heavy for the wind to hold up, it will fall to the earth. Okay, so let's go down here. I'm going to move myself. So this is hail, friends. Much bigger than snow, much heavier than snow. Could be very dangerous if you're outside and you get hit with hailstones. But let's talk about how hail is formed, because that's a little confusing. And it might still be a little confusing. I'm not going to lie, friends. Hail's very confusing, but I'm going to try to make it easier. So hail, right here. This is our hail. So the ice crystals, just like for rain and snow, are falling. But then a big gush of wind comes in and takes it back up. And now it gets more ice stuck to it and more water droplets. Everything that's in the air, more water vapor, is all stuck to it and makes it bigger. And then eventually, this just keeps happening until eventually it's too heavy and it falls. So it's the ice crystal. It never turns to water. It stays frozen just like snow. But when there are strong winds, they come and they blow it back up or back over, and it collects more ice crystals around it and more water droplets that are coming up. And it gets bigger, and then it falls. All right, friends, so let's do a little recap. We have rain. So the ice crystals are falling. They get to our temperature, which is right here. It's warmer. Good, we got rain. Snow. The ice crystals are falling, and this temperature is pretty cold, so it's going to stay frozen and it's going to be snow. Now hail. Hail is frozen, but there's a big wind, and it brings it back up, and it collects more of the ice crystals and the water droplets, and it gets bigger and bigger until it eventually falls. All right, friends, so those are 3 types of precipitation: rain, snow, and hail. All right, I have a Nearpod. Have a great day, friends.